Good morning, you're watching AWANI with me, Nabilah, Khaleeda. Let's begin with the economic impact of the escalating conflict in the Middle East and how it's shaking global markets. Alright, MSCI's Global Equities Index fell with Treasury yields on Tuesday as investors shield away from riskier assets, while all futures rallied on concerns about supply after Iran launched missiles at Israel. However, Wall Street stocks ended above their session lows, and Treasury's yields also pared declines on hopes that further escalation of the Middle East conflict was not imminent. Earlier on Tuesday, Iran fired a salvo of ballistic missiles at Israel in retaliation for Israel's campaign against Tehran's Hezbollah ally in Lebanon. The United States condemned Iran's move and said it was consulting with Israel on a response after U.S. military forces helped Israel defeat the attack. The US dollar index rose and gold, traditionally a safe haven, rose during the session to more than 1% as investors looked for less risky places to put their money. Oil prices rallied as escalating violence raised concerns about supply. And adding extra pressure to equities, the S&P 500 and the Dow had ended Monday's session with record closing highs. Oil prices settled higher, though below their highs of the day. Clay Siegel, an independent political risk strategist, said that an Israeli attack on Iranian oil production or export facilities could cause a material disruption, potentially more than 1 million barrels per day. U.S. crude settled up 2.44% at $69.83 per barrel, and Brent settled at $73.56 per barrel, up to 2.59% of the day. Earlier in the day, both crude benchmarks rose more than 5%. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 173.18 points, or 0.41%. The S&P 500 fell 53.73 points, or 0.93%, and the Nasdaq Composite fell 278.81 points, or 1.53%. MSCI's gauge of stocks across the globe fell 6.09 points, or 0.71% to 845.69.
The launch of the missiles by Iran against Israel is first and foremost a human tragedy, and thoughts and prayers go out to any of those damaged by that. From the market perspective, interestingly, we were down early in the day before this, and I think investors are really still focused on the Federal Reserve and the soft economic data we got this morning from the Purchasing Managers Survey. That said, as we watch this conflict unfold, I think the key question is what happens if it starts to widen? Do others start to get involved? Does it get extended? And does that start to really impact oil prices a little more? The impact so far has been modest, and I think investors are going to be able to shrug this off for the moment as they focus more on the economic story, which may be getting better in China and is really fairly solid here in the U.S.
All right, now let's take a look at the latest S&P 500 overview as of this morning and how this conflict will impact the global markets. And we'll start off with Microsoft. As you can see, the color is sort of pink to red to pink over here, and it shows that it was down by 2.23% and stood at the level of 420.69. And the latest latest updates on Microsoft is that Microsoft has given its consumer Copilot, an artificial intelligence assistant, a more amiable voice in its latest update, with the chatbot also capable of analyzing web pages for interested users as they browse. And the US software maker now has an entire army of creative directors among the psychologists, novelists, and comedians, finessing the tone and style of Copilot to distinguish it. And long identified with business software, Microsoft has had a much harder road in the consumer realm, and its Bing search engine, for instance, is still dwarfed by Google. And additionally, consumers who spend $20 monthly for Copilot Pro can actually start testing a think deeper feature that reasons through choices like whether to move to one city or another, and that's on Microsoft. And on the same technology updates for Oracle, for example, it was also down by 1.90% and stood at the level of 167.16. And same goes to Adobe. It shows a red color which was down by 2.89% and at the level of 502.80, and also same sectors under the technology semiconductor, and that's on technology updates for as of now. And move on to Meta updates and the latest updates on Meta. It shows that Meta platform said on Tuesday it will expand investment in artificial intelligence innovation in Vietnam, including production of its latest mixed reality headsets from 2025 to 2026, and its footprint in the country as well. And the announcement came during a visit to Vietnam by Meta's president for global affairs, Nick Clegg, and just a week after he met Vietnamese President To Lam in New York. And Meta has tens of millions of users in Vietnam of its Facebook social media platform, and it would soon begin testing Meta AI in Vietnamese, having started its business AI for Messenger testing in the country in June, with its full launch by the end of this year. And that's on Meta. Let's see the Meta updates as of now. It shows a green color. Same goes to Google as well. It's under communication services sector, and it shows that Meta was up a bit by 0.70% and stood at the level of 576.47. Meanwhile, Google shows that it was up by 0.74% and at the level of 168.42. So it's a positive impact towards all these communication services, both Google and Meta. Meanwhile, for Amazon, as you can see, a sort of purple color over here, it was down by 0.64% and at the level of 185.13, and that's for Amazon and the consumer cyclical. Then the latest updates on Amazon, it shows that Amazon.com Inc. won partial dismissal of a U.S. Federal Trade Commission lawsuit accusing it of maintaining illegal monopolies through they were not immediately clear, and the FTC has accused the online retailer of using anti-competitive tactics to maintain dominance among online superstores and also marketplace. And then on the next, I want to show you on the updates on Tesla. It's under the auto manufacturers. It was down by 1.38% and stood at the level of 258.02, and it was down by 1.38%, like I mentioned earlier. But that was for Tesla. But on the another update for semiconductors, it was for media. It was down by 3.66% and stood at the level of 117. At the level 117, and that's for our semiconductors. But meanwhile, at the same time, we can see that for a same sector is under the Broadcom. It shows that it was down by 2.92% and also stood at the level 167.47%. In conjunction to that, we can see that we have a mix of colors over here. We have green, we have a sort of purple closing to pink, and also basically it was a mixture of positive and also negative impacts from the conflict of the Middle East that's happened in between Israel and also Iran. All right. Meanwhile, at the same time, now we want to look at how the same situation is affecting the Asia Dow Index and overall Asia market data. As you can see, we can show that for Asia market data, it shows that how it impacts the Asia data at the same time. Let me show you for a while. All right, as of now and as of today, it shows that it stood at the level of 4,400.33. It was down by 0.53% and also down by 23.57 points. And meanwhile, we can see that in 5 days, we can see that the level or the movement of the Asia Dow's index, it stood at the level in between 4,500 levels and between of 4,300 as well. This is in the span of a week. We can see that the movement is started off low and increased at around almost Monday. And meanwhile, for today, as of 2nd of October, it stays at the level 4,400, and that's for the Asia Dow Index for today. And meanwhile, I can show to you the Asia Market Index for today. We start off with Nikkei 225 Index. It shows that it was down by 1.43% and stood at the level of 554.06, and Hang Seng Index was up by 2.43% and at the level of 501.38, and at the same time Shanghai Composite Index was quite significant with 8.06% and at the level of 248.97, and at the same time FTSE Straits Times Index shows the decreasing of 0.12% and was down by 3,580.96,
And meanwhile, S&P 200 benchmark index was down by 0.13% and stood at the level of 8,198.5. And I want to move on to next. I'm going to change to bahasa Malaysia, where ringgit ditutup rendah berbanding dolar Amerika Syarikat pada Selasa berikutan pengambilan untung selepas kenaikan ketara baru-baru ini sejajar dengan mata wang serantau lain apabila Amerika Syarikat memberi isyarat pengurangan kadar faedah yang lebih rendah pada masa depan. Pada pukul 6 petang, ringgit diniagakan pada 4.1530 atau 1610 berbanding dolar Amerika, turun daripada 4.1210 atau 1280 ketika ditutup pada Isnin. Ketua Ahli Ekonomi Bank Muamalat Malaysia Berhad, Dr. Muhammad Afzanizam Abdul Rashid berkata, prestasi rendah itu susulan kenyataan terbaru oleh pengerusi Rizab Persekutuan Amerika Syarikat, Jerome Powell. Menurut beliau juga, suasana ketidakpastian pasaran seperti krisis di Asia Barat antara Israel dan juga Iran kebiasaannya akan menyebabkan permintaan terhadap mata wang selamat seperti dolar Amerika Syarikat meningkat dan risiko utama untuk tempoh terdekat adalah ringgit. Dan saya akan tunjukkan pergerakan ringgit pada setakat pagi ini pada 2 Oktober 2024. Kita dah saksikan setakat jam 9.12 pagi ia berada pada paras 4.1655. Merosot sedikit berbanding semalam. Kalau kita dapat lihat, semalam ia berada pada paras yang agak kukuh, yang paling kukuh setakat ini, iaitu sekitar 4.1212. Kalau kita lihat pada 1 Oktober 4.1212 kepada hari ini pada 2 Oktober ia menyusut sedikit, mungkin akibat daripada serangan balas Iran kepada Israel dan juga ketidakpastian yang berlaku pada ketika ini di Asia Barat. Dan itu kalau kita dapat saksikan setakat hari ini. Kita nak tunjukkan juga pergerakan ringgit berbanding dolar Amerika dalam lebih kurang 1 minggu. Kita dapat saksikan naik turun ringgit itu berbanding dolar Amerika. Kalau kita boleh bandingkan lebih kurang dalam sekitar 2024 bermula dengan awal tahun ini, kita dapat saksikan pada awal tahun ini penyusutan ringgit itu agak ketara yang menghampiri pada 4.8, namun masuki pada bulan Mei ataupun pada bulan 5 ia menunjukkan pengukuhan yang orang kata penstabilan pengukuhan ringgit itu sehinggalah mencapai ke paras melebihi ataupun 4.2 dan kita mungkin akan jangkakan pengukuhan ringgit itu akan menyamai ataupun bersama dengan RM4 bersama dengan 1 dolar Amerika Syarikat pada penghujung tahun 2024. Baik, itu apa yang saya dapat kongsikan berkaitan dengan ringgit setakat ini. Kita akan teruskan dengan Sing Dollar. Baik, kalau boleh saya kongsikan juga berkenaan dengan perbandingan Singapore Dollar dan juga Malaysia Ringgit. Kita dapat saksikan setakat hari ini pada 2 Oktober 2024, ia berada berparas 3.2354 untuk setakat hari ini. Kalau kita nak tengok juga sedikit sebelum ini, kita dapat tunjukkan mungkin dalam Oktober 1, ia berada berparas 3.2071. Itu untuk semalam, 3.2071 berbanding dengan 1 dolar Singapura. Itu menunjukkan juga penyusutan ringgit. Kalau kita bandingkan antara hari, kita dapat menunjukkan sikit penyusutan yang agak minimal dalam perbandingan antara hari semalam dan juga hari ini. Kalau kita nak tunjukkan dalam lebih kurang 1 minggu seperti yang saya tunjukkan untuk dolar Amerika tadi, kalau kita dapat lihat pada awal 2024, pada awal tahun 2024, kita dapat saksikan penyusutan nilai nilai ringgit itu berbanding dengan dolar Singapura itu agak ketara, juga menghampiri 3.6 kalau kita nak bandingkan, tapi memasuki sama seperti dolar Amerika. Kita menyaksikan pengukuhan ringgit itu sejak memasuki bulan Mei sehinggalah ke hari ini 2 Oktober 2024 sehinggalah mencapai 3.23572. Adakah kita akan menyamai bersama dengan 3.2 pada hujung tahun ini? Kita akan saksikan bersama dengan pakar ekonomi sebentar nanti. Jadi kita akan berhenti rehat seketika, kembali selepas ini.
CIMB Bank dan CIMB Islamic Bank dan Credit Guarantee Corporation Malaysia Berhad CGC memeterai perkongsian strategik untuk menawarkan tambahan 1.5 bilion ringgit untuk perusahaan kecil dan sederhana PKS melalui jaminan portfolio CGC PG. Ia menjadikan pembiayaan modal kerja semasa bank ini kepada 6.5 bilion ringgit untuk memacu PKS dengan skop pembiayaan yang lebih luas untuk penggunaan ESG, pendigitalan dan pelaburan dalam teknologi strategik. Firma-firma perniagaan di Malaysia kini boleh mengumpul dana melalui token digital dan menyenaraikannya di bursa untuk perdagangan melalui pusat sehenti hasil kerjasama antara platform pembiayaan melalui orang ramai equity berlesen, pitch in dan pertukaran aset digital DEX Hatta. Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Pitch In, Sam Shafi berkata kerjasama itu adalah yang pertama seumpamanya di Malaysia di mana perniagaan boleh mengumpul dana melalui aset digital atau token untuk mempercepatkan pertumbuhan. Public Investment Bank Public Invest meramalkan Saipat Resources Berhad mencatatkan kerugian bersih 16 juta ringgit bagi tahun kewangan 2025 disebabkan kerja-kerja pembetulan berpanjangan bagi segmen sisa kepada tenaga STE kumpulan. Firma penyelidikan itu juga menurunkan unjuran pendapatan kumpulan sebanyak 53% dan 25% bagi tahun kewangan 2026 serta tahun kewangan 2027. Laporan penuh di saluran 501 dan astroawani.com serta dagangnews.com.
Baik, belanjawan 2025 dijangka menyaksikan peningkatan peruntukan yang ketara didorong oleh pertumbuhan ekonomi Malaysia yang kukuh dan hasil kerajaan yang meningkat. Timbalan Presiden Persatuan Ekonomi Malaysia Profesor Dr. Yeh Kim Leng berkata, dengan setiap peningkatan 1% dalam keluaran dalam negara kasar KDNK, hasil kerajaan akan meningkat sebanyak 0.94 mata. Ia membolehkan pelaburan yang lebih besar dalam sektor utama seperti pendidikan, penjagaan kesihatan dan kebajikan sosial, terutamanya bagi kumpulan berpendapatan rendah dan kurang bernasib baik.
Memetik laporan bernama, beliau berkata pertumbuhan KDNK Malaysia pada 2024 dijangka sekitar 4 hingga 5%, di mana mengekalkan kadar pertumbuhan ini penting untuk menjana pendapatan tambahan untuk menyokong perbelanjaan sosial kerajaan yang meningkat. Kim Leng berkata Malaysia mendapat manfaat daripada keadaan ekonomi yang menggalakkan dengan pertumbuhan KDNK menjadi asas kepada keupayaan kerajaan untuk memperuntukkan lebih banyak sumber ke arah meningkatkan taraf hidup B40 dan kumpulan rentan lain. Jelasnya ekonomi Malaysia berada pada momentum meningkat dan dengan pertumbuhan ini kerajaan mampu meningkatkan perbelanjaan sosialnya. Katanya langkah itu adalah perlu untuk menangani kos sara hidup dan meningkatkan kualiti hidup secara keseluruhannya, terutamanya untuk 60% terendah daripada jumlah penduduk. Beliau berkata komitmen kerajaan untuk mengurangkan kemiskinan dan meningkatkan keterangkuman sosial sejajar dengan rancangan Malaysia ke-13, RMK ke-13 yang menekankan pertumbuhan mampan dan pengagihan kekayaan yang saksama. Selain menaikkan gaji, Kim Leng menekankan kepentingan meningkatkan keupayaan kumpulan berpendapatan rendah dengan memastikan akses kepada kesejahteraan hidup dan peluang yang lebih baik. Malah, sektor swasta telah digesa mempercepatkan pertumbuhan gaji terutamanya untuk belia B40. Ahli ekonomi itu turut menekankan mengenai kepentingan tadbir urus yang baik dalam memastikan peningkatan hasil kerajaan dibelanjakan dengan bijak. Beliau berkata kerajaan telah mengambil langkah untuk menangani ketirisan itu dan menambah baik proses perolehan. Menurutnya, penekanan terhadap tadbir urus untuk mengurangkan ketidakcekapan dalam perbelanjaan adalah penting untuk memaksimalkan manfaat peningkatan hasil daripada pertumbuhan ekonomi. Dengan perlindungan yang sewajarnya, Malaysia dapat memastikan manfaat pertumbuhan ekonomi diagihkan secara adil dan menyumbang kepada kestabilan dan perpaduan sosial dalam jangka panjang. RHB Investment positif terhadap prospek Smiden Group Berhad selepas ia memperoleh kontrak pertamanya di bawah program Kuasa Hijau Korporat CGPP yang mencerminkan kedudukan yang kukuh dalam ruang tenaga solar. Katanya kontrak bernilai 52 juta ringgit yang diraih kumpulan itu akan meningkatkan buku pesanannya kepada 356.5 juta ringgit, meningkat 16% daripada 313.5 juta ringgit pada Jun 2024. Pengeluar minuman tempatan Life Water Berhad memeterai perjanjian taja jamin dengan MIDF Amanah Investment Bank Berhad sempena tawaran awam permulaan IPO yang akan datang di pasaran utama Bursa Malaysia. IPO itu melibatkan terbitan awam sebanyak 97 juta saham biasa baharu dan tawaran untuk penjualan 28.3 juta saham biasa sedia ada. Maybank Islamik dengan kerjasama pemaju hartanah Gamuda Land dan pakar Kabinet Dapur Unity Kitchen melancarkan promosi eksklusif pakej reka bentuk dalaman percuma bernilai sehingga RM68,888 kepada bakal pemilik rumah projek baharu di 257 Kota Kemuning Selangor House Key di Quayside Plazas. Laporan penuh di saluran 501 dan astroawani.com, sedagannews.com.
Alright, moving on. Materials in Works MIW is a Malaysian company dedicated to revolutionizing the packaging industry by upcycling hard-to-recycle items into new valuable materials. Their mission focuses on reducing environmental impact through innovative recycling and upcycling processes, promoting a circular economy. MIW collaborates with academic institutions and industry partners to drive research and development R&D, ensuring their solutions are cutting-edge and effective. By transforming waste into resources, MIW aims to minimize landfill waste and contribute to a more sustainable future. So to discuss further on this, we have on the line John Oi Chung Sen, MIW founder. John, firstly, would you describe how do you foresee regulatory changes, particularly in the EU, impacting your operations in the whole Asia, and what proactive steps are you taking to stay ahead of such legislative shifts?
Hi, good morning. So Material in Works, actually, we work on projects that indicate the upcoming regulatory changes, especially in European Union side. And we actually also understand that there are more stricter environmental regulation, for example, carbon taxation, which will profound impact on the supply chain in Asia side, right? So in anticipation of these changes, we basically adopt three proactive countermeasures. So number one, we try to align our practices with global sustainability standard and preparing for upcoming legislation by ensuring compliance with circular economy framework, okay? Then number two is we try to enhance the collaboration with local governments to anticipate the regulatory shift, right? And last but not least, we also actively engaging with industry partners, academic institutions to develop innovative solutions that addresses both current and also future regulatory requirements.
As mentioned, Materials in Works, or MIW, focuses on upcycling hard-to-recycle items. So what are the challenges in scaling these innovations across global markets, and how do you plan to address infrastructure limitations in developing regions?
Yep. So basically, Material in Works founded with the idea of commitment to upcycling items that are difficult to recycle, right? But however, scaling this innovation across global market really presents several challenges. So particularly, for example, concerning the infrastructure limitation in developing regions. So a significant challenges we foresee is navigating the cultural differences as we expand into these new territories, right? So to address this, we actually exploring on the joint venture model, which also may involve in licensing our intellectual property to local partners. And also this strategy would also enable us to enter the market alongside with our customers. So thereby, with all these countermeasures mentioned, it mitigates the risk associated with the business development in unfamiliar environment. And moreover, we also confront the insufficient recycling infrastructure in this region, which also we're trying to amplify our upcycling effort, right? So to tackle this challenge, we actually work with local partners to establish a small and decentralized recycling hub. So by then, we can mitigate the risk. Yeah.
But when we talk about these upcycling hard to recycle items, there's this also concern about the increasing scrutiny on greenwashing. So how do you ensure the environmental benefits of your upcycling processor are actually measurable and also transparent at the same time?
That's a very good question. So in collaboration with our partners, right? So we trying to adopt a data-driven methodology, so to meticulously monitor and report the environmental advantages of our processes, right? So which includes conducting the life cycle assessment. So apart from that, we also employ measurable key performance indicators or KPIs, such as reduction in carbon emission and rates of waste diversion to guarantee transparency and credibility. And in fact, for phase 2 implementation, we're also considering having third-party audits and certification to further validate our claims and also mitigate the risk of greenwashing.
Now we want to talk about legislative pushes that is attracting capital. How are you leveraging these trends to actually secure funding and also partnerships? And what role do investors play in your strategic growth of MIW specifically?
Yeah. So this is a very important point for us, in fact. So we actually strategically capitalize on our increasing legislative focus on sustainability. So this also attract investors who are committed to environmental, social, and governance compliance, so which is ESG, right? So by aligning our operation with this green regulation, right? So and establishing partnership with governmental bodies and global brands, so we actually secure funding through grants and investment round dedicated to sustainable innovation. And impact-driven investor usually is the one that playing crucial role in scaling our operation, and they are the one that providing essential support for infrastructure development and technological advancement. So furthermore, we also maintain, like mentioned, transparent communication with the investor, keeping them informed about the progress and also impact of their investment. So this open dialogue actually fosters the trust and confidence, cultivating a long-term relationship, right? So a vital thing that for sustained growth. So we also actively participate in industry conferences, forum to showcase our innovation and network with potential partners who are equally committed to these practices.
John, we have about 2 minutes left before we end this session. Perhaps we want to go into the technological view of it. What cutting-edge technologies are you actually adopting to improve recycling purity and also efficiency in your processes, especially considering that China's national sort policy is limiting contaminated imports right now?
Yeah, so in fact, this is the trend that actually pushes us to look into this avenue, right? So to enhance the purity of recycling, so we actually adopting advanced sorting process, right? And also trying to avoid using harmful chemicals, or in another word, environmentally friendly technologies, right? So that ensure that harmful chemicals are excluded from our operation. So in response to China national sort policy, so which basically restrict the importation of contaminated materials. So we actually upgrade our waste processing system to use higher purity recyclates, right? So this strategy actually not only diminish the dependence of export market, but also promote regional upcycling initiative. So apart from that, we also trying to dedicate to education part, right? So trying to educate the community, fostering the proper recycling practices, right? So by increasing awareness, we believe that the recycling cleanliness and correct material disposal will be adopted by the communities, right? So by then, in overall, we also will increase the collected recyclables from our end. So in terms of environmental sustainability, so we are embracing closed-loop recycling system also, so which allow the continuous reuse of the material within the same production cycle. So by this kind of approach, we actually not only conserve the resources, we also mitigate the environmental impact during the manufacturing processes, and in return, also increase the yield of higher purity recyclates. Yeah.
All right, I would like to say thank you to John Oi-Chung-Sen, the founder of MIW, in supporting their efforts to reduce environmental impact through innovative recycling and also upcycling processes, and also promotes a circular economy, especially to support the national NETR goals. So I would like to say thank you. Thanks again to John Oi-Chung-Sen. And we have a lot more updates after this with my colleague Ina Rozman and also Harits Asyraf Hasnan. We'll go for a short break. We'll be right back.
Malaysia sebenarnya berada di kedudukan kedua terburuk di dunia berkaitan keseimbangan hidup dan kerja.
LRT3 sudah akan mula beroperasi suku ketiga 2025. Kerja-kerja fizikal dan penstrukturan sudah mencecah 95%.
KPM sebenarnya sedang memperincikan cadangan untuk menyediakan allowance kos sara hidup tingkatan 6.
Libat urus antara umat Islam dan agama lain penting supaya dapat mengelakkan ataupun membawa kepada Islamofobia.
Apa signifikan dengan pengumuman ataupun berita yang keluar dari media China ini berkaitan dengan hasrat Malaysia untuk menyertai gabungan BRICS?
Kita mau dapat lebih banyak umpamanya pelaburan daripada negara China.
Kalau melihat kepada Akta Kanak-Kanak 2001, adakah kita terlalu lambat untuk melihat proses untuk meminda akta sejak ada?
Kita perlu ada penyelarasan. Kita tak mahu bekerja secara silo.
Dibawakan oleh penaja utama jelajah Jiwa SME, Unify Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
Alright, for this segment, we're going to be focusing on technology and digital. For example, like Carbotech, the technology pioneer in photosynthesis enhancement via advanced carbon quantum dots material, proudly announces its expansion across Southeast Asia, fueled by $1.5 million in new funding from investors, including 500 Global, Better Byte Ventures, ID Capital, EQT Foundation, and Epic Angels Limited. This investment marks a pivotal moment in Carbotech's growth strategy and solidifies the company's commitment to introducing its pioneering photosynthesis enhancement technology and to the new markets. And definitely, we are here with the guests ready with me in the set to help us understand the journey that was embarked by Carbotech, the Mr. Cho Chi Ho. I want to say thank you very much for joining me. Definitely, I want to say congratulations for this. We can see that expansion of Carbotech going to Southeast Asia, introducing it to the new market. What are uniqueness and how can we contribute within the sector? Firstly, can you help with us to understand how do carbon and quantum dots enhance photosynthesis and what makes them more effective than traditional methods? Maybe you can share with us a little bit of that.
Thanks for having me. So first of all, thank you so much for the congratulatory message. So how carbon quantum dot works, it has this very unique photoluminescent property. So as if it's the similar property to chlorophyll in the leaves. So when our material spray onto plant leaves, it helps the plant to capture more light energy for them to enhance the photosynthesis efficiency. So traditionally, when a plant is carrying out its photosynthesis, it can only absorb 2 to 4% of light energy, and the rest of 98% of the light energy is left unutilized. So our material sort of introducing this additional light energy so that the plant has additional light spectrum for them to photosynthesize. So other traditional methods out there are, for example, like using fertilizer or using other biostimulants, we're not able to increase the photosynthesis rate. So the other technologies out there increasing photosynthesis rate involve complicated biotechnology or even involve GMO seeds, genetic modifications. So our approach is relatively from another perspective, just enhancing the light capture and without augmenting the genetics of the plant.
We can understand the benefits of it and how it enhances photosynthesis rates. And definitely we also want to see and understand how can it bring long-term benefits, effects, especially to soil and even biodiversity.
So our quantum dots material, it's naturally derived from agricultural waste. So at Carbotech, we have a patented process to extract this carbon quantum dots material from agricultural waste biochar. So coupling with other natural solutions by the farmers, definitely we are not degrading the soil quality. And in terms of biodiversity, because we are not a chemical-based material, we are not chemical input, we are not like a chemical or biostimulant. So we are not contributing to the emission of the agriculture sector. Whereas with the farmers using natural solutions like organic fertilizer, with our photosynthesis enhancer or the carbon quantum dots material, we can actually help in terms of carbon removal. Meaning we are removing more carbon dioxide from the air and generate more oxygen. So in that angle, we are actually contributing to more biodiversities and conservation and preservation of biodiversity.
And then that's the long-term effect of this effort. We can see it won't degrade it by the biodiversity, and especially it's going to enhance the agriculture use. Maybe, Shaw, maybe you can share with us how does Carbotech ensure the biocompatibility and safety of its carbon quantum dots for widespread agriculture use? As we can see, there are a lot of problems with the environmental disaster. How can we navigate and manage through that?
So first of all, our raw material, again, it's agricultural waste. So in our process, we are not using any chemical. It's an acid-free process. It's a green process that we upcycle agricultural waste into our quantum dots material as photosynthesis enhancer. And on top of that, we have actually completed non-toxicity tests regarding our material. So we have done acute oral toxicity tests. We have even done bacteria reverse mutational test. So we have passed all these tests to prove that our material is biocompatible and safe for consumption. And talking about how can we play a part in terms of combating climate change or even contribute to the sustainability. So first of all, of course, we are upcycling agricultural waste. And secondly, because our material can help plant to absorb more light energy, even the UV spectrum. So by nature, the plant cannot absorb UV light spectrum. So during this rainy season, prolonged monsoon season, farmers are actually suffering because of crop drop in production due to insufficient sunlight. And with our material, we are helping the plants or the food crops absorbing more light energy, and therefore the farmers can maintain the same level of output. So we are not only contributing in terms of sustainability, but also helping farmers to improve their yield.
And we can see that it's a very good initiative done by Carbotech especially, but we can see that Carbotech is doing its best to give the best to the farmer, especially in a very, we can say, low or bad condition, prolonged monsoon as you mentioned. And but can you tell us your story? What was the challenges that you had to go through all of the process, even though you passed, but what was the challenges that you faced, and how do you overcome all of these challenges?
So back in 2018, Dr. Suraya, our chief scientist, started the company. So we are about 6 and 7 years old now already. However, reflecting back to the early days of Carbotech, Dr. Suraya faced a lot of challenges because it's a new agri-input category. So it's photosynthesis enhancer. It's not fertilizer, it's not pesticide, it's not biostimulant. So the end users, for example, our farmers, were very skeptical about using this new category of agri-input. And after they have seen all the good results of using our product, they are convinced. And talking about that, back then, by Dr. Suraya herself, as a solo entrepreneur, she was still teaching in University Putra, Malaysia. So it was a huge challenge for her to juggle between different hats. So then I joined her in 2021. And since then, we are making good progress. We are on our journey to commercialization. And not only that, talking about scaling from lab scale production into the current manufacturing scale, we also face quite a number of challenges, especially we need to find good fabricator because we are designing very specific machineries or equipment that it's tailored or customized to our usage.
And you've just highlighted about technology and innovation from the journey and experience that Carbotech had went through with all the challenges and what the opportunities that they bring to the agriculture sector. And we can see we can see not only the challenges that you guys face and you guys have addressed all of this, but entering a new market, the expansion, even we can see through the Southeast Asia. So what strategies does Carbotech employing to penetrate and establish itself as in the new market of Southeast Asia right now?
So learning from our experiences, we strongly believe in local partners or local champions. For example, we started off working with smallholder farmers in small community in Pahang. And because of the effectiveness or efficacy of our product, these farmers became our local champions. So as we are penetrating Indonesian market, even Vietnam, Thailand, we are looking for the local partners here, to help us scale our impact there. So for now, we already established a partnership with some partners in Indonesia. So they have seen the efficacy and effectiveness of our product in rice field, in vegetable farms. So they are advocating our product and technology in their communities. So we are leveraging on this partnership, working with the local communities and local companies in Indonesia to help us bring our product into the Indonesian market.
And that's the opportunity that we must grasp, leveraging on the collaborations and the transfer of technology, experts and skills within regional borders. And we want to talk about how about the risks of how does Carbotech plan to address potential regulatory hurdles in different countries within the Southeast Asia?
So because we are using this in agriculture, we are dealing with food. So definitely regulatory requirement is something that we need to satisfy. So taking the example in Indonesia, we are working closely with the local partners because they know the local regulation more than us as an outsider. So they are the one who are helping us to get through all this hurdle, to fulfill all the regulatory requirement and to get the local approval or certification. So we are really grateful for our local Indonesian partners there.
And what are the key factors that are driving the demands of advanced agritech solutions in Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and even Indonesia?
So talking about agri-tech solution as a whole, we have seen not only something like us, biotech or bio-based, there are a lot of technology advancement involved, maybe IoT solution, drone, even satellite imaging, or even hyperspectral imaging. So all these solutions are able to help farmers to improve their yield, but back to the dollar and cents, whether it's really cost effective or bringing this cost benefits to the farmers. So farmers is very risk averse. They will look at the dollar and cents very carefully because we know that fresh produce prices are fluctuating. So they are very conservative to invest an extra cent on their agri input or even the solution that could help them. So all these agri-tech solution, the farmers will look at only the cost benefits angle first before they are even willing to try. So I think what Carbotech stands out from the rest is that our solution is relatively easy to use. They just need to spray onto the leaves and they can mix with their current agri inputs, for example, fertilizer or pesticide. And our solution is not priced very expensively. It's comparative to fertilizer pricing. So that makes the barrier of entry lower for farmers because they feel that this price range is affordable, they can actually try it. So I think other agri-tech solutions out there, because they are more costly to build and therefore the adoption cost for farmers will be higher.
We can conclude from what you just shared that Carbotech, we can see produce not only efficiency but also cost efficiency, affordability, and enhance the agriculture as a whole actually. And entering the Southeast Asia market, I think Carbotech in any other companies also knows that they already have existing solutions, agritech, within their own markets. So how do Carbotech
can and what are the strategies to compete within all of these existing agritech solutions within this market?
So some fertilizers company may see our novel photosynthesis enhancer as a competitive product for them. Okay. But in our opinion, we are complementing all these other agri inputs. For example, without fertilizer, our photosynthesis enhancer will not give the optimum benefit to the farmers. Okay. So the farmers will still need to use fertilizer, other inputs or biostimulant, and on top of that, use our photosynthesis enhancer. Then they will have the maximum output improvement. So we see ourselves complementing other ecosystem players in agriculture sector, be it drone service provider, or even fertilizer manufacturer, or even IoT provider or platform provider.
Talking about Carbotech cost operation, you also want to take a very important aspect for every businesses, entrepreneurs, with financial and investment. We know that this is one of the hardest to talk about, of execute or plan, but we know that this is the most important to go forward, bring our uniqueness of our products to the forefront, and how can be example of innovation to every startup or every companies within the sector. And how will the $1.5 million investment be allocated across different sectors of Carbotech expansion and even operations?
First of all, we are so grateful for the support from our investors. So for a number of them, Carbotech is actually their first investment in Malaysia. So the funding utilization will be spent on extending our production line. So we are sort of like getting more and more order, and that's why we need to extend our production line to cater for this backlog of order. And just now you asked me about regulatory
hurdles,
and hurdles. So part of the funding will be spent on getting international certification and approval so that we can scale across the globe faster. But we know that this will take time. Usually to get all this, to fulfill all this regulatory requirement will take at least 1 to 2 years. So this funding will enable us to get all this done in multiple countries in Southeast Asia.
And I know it's quite early maybe to ask you this, but as you mentioned, this will take time especially for regulatory, to fulfill the regulatory requirements, not only internal, but also within the Southeast Asia market. But how can, we want to understand also, how can it measure the metrics or the mechanism used to measure the success of its regional expansion?
So definitely, first of all the metric is the revenue growth in terms of percentage. And we know that as we are scaling across different countries in Southeast Asia, talking about penetration, we are not only measuring revenue in that particular country per se. So taking the experience that we had in Malaysia and in Indonesia. So we work with different farmers. So usually they will just purchase a small volume of our product. They want to try in their farm and see the efficacy first. Although we work closely with distributors, but the farmers are still sticking to these practices, meaning they want to see the effectiveness of the product in their own farm. So the volume in the beginning will be not that much. They just buy like a small sample size and try at the farm. And then we are going to track the number of new customers and their recurring purchase as well. So these are important metrics for us. And not only that, we are also growing our sales and marketing team. So the growth of the team size will be also one of our metrics, and the ROI on the team size as well.
And actually, what are some of the important or critical aspect or components that Carbotech would like look into, especially within to attract further investment for the future? Is it mostly on the cost operation? Is it mostly in the infrastructure, or within you start on this first, or how can you share of all the process?
So Carbotech is already 6 years old. So we are sort of like progressing step by step. So for now, we are focusing more expanding into our Indonesian market than the rest of the countries in Southeast Asia. So we want to use this milestone to prove to our future investors that we can capture the market share in Southeast Asia before we move out of Southeast Asia. So next is targeting the Asia Pacific region, even including Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa region. So for the next stage, we are going to show to our future investors that we can deliver in Southeast Asia, and with the future funding, we are able to expand across the globe.
And it's important for you to balance and navigate within the international and even locals, and you just mentioned that going to focus how can we expand across the globe while maintaining and sustainable efforts and initiative. But at the same time, in order for you to expand within the global expansion Southeast Asia market for now especially, but how do you maintain and navigate that this carbon tax will also benefit and ensure that all of this technology will reach or contribute to all of the smallholder farmers and contributes to their economy well-being especially?
So I would say we are still a very early stage startup. So we are still very closely connected to our smallholder farmers or the end users. So basically, I would say 40% of my time I will spend in the field talking and interacting with smallholder farmers because not only to collect the feedback about our product, but also to understand better on the other factors that are affecting their yield. For example, like climate change, weather changes, and how can we also add values to this smallholder farmers group. So we have a team of agronomists who are very dedicated providing consultation services or even providing free advices to our farmers beyond the usage of photosynthesis enhancer. Because ultimately, when the farmers are enjoying the yield, then we will have our recurring purchase. If the farmers are suffering, of course, all of us will have very expensive food in the market. Correct. And also our carbon tax as a company will not grow further.
And it will also degrade the productivity.
Yes, very true.
And we want to also take a look at maybe into the future outlook for the agritech technology and innovation within the framework of investment and financial. What are some of the potential future applications of carbon quantum dots beyond agriculture based on carbotech current research and even development?
So I would say our chief scientist and founder, Dr. Straya, she's really amazing. And just recently, she got the recognition of top 2% scientists.
Oh, wow.
For the
Congratulations on that, too.
of 2024. So she has continuously working on different types of research and development on our material. So our material can also be applied in other sectors beyond agriculture. So for instance, in the renewable energy sector, our material can be embedded into dye-sensitized solar cell to improve the efficiency of solar cell. And beyond renewable energy sector, in the healthcare sector, Dr. Straya has experimented with different core researchers to put our material on fiber optics to improve the real-time diagnostic for healthcare. So I would say the potential of this quantum dots material is limitless, and we would like to expand into other applications as well.
And we understand that Belanjawan, the upcoming budget, is also around the corner, which will be presented by our Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, on 18 October 2024. Maybe you can share with us, you are as an industry player, entrepreneurial business startup. Maybe you can share with us what some of the wish lists that you wanted that's a benefit for a larger scale within the agriculture sector.
So talking about GLC or conglomerate, I would say they have very rigid procurement policies. So I hope that maybe in this new Belanjawan or budget, the government will give some leeway for these big companies or maybe certain incentive for them to try out the solutions from startups. So because usually startup will not have the track record of maybe 10 years of financial. So it's usually adopted by the procurement department of large companies. So they would like to engage vendor who has really a good track record, maybe more than 10 years. But for many startups out there, we are unable to satisfy this requirement. So hopefully the government will be working on something to benefit startup from that angle in terms of changing the culture of procurement in large companies.
And again, I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Chow Chi Hao, the CEO of Carbotech, for helping us understand the evolutions of nanotech and agritech and how it contributes and boosts our agriculture sector, which also it's important for us to ensure that it aligns with the environmental value and responsibility. Again, I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Chi. Hope to have more discussion like this in the future with you. Again, I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you, Nina.
Definitely for all of our amazing discussion here will be featured in astroawani.com and across all social media platforms.
Dibawakan oleh penaja utama jelajah Jiwa SME, Unify Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
Listen up. Masa untuk bergembira dan ketawa. Kami ada segalanya untuk semua.
Oh, that's funny to you? Yeah.
Berseronoklah bersama seisi keluarga.
What better gift to give a loved one?
Pasti tidak kering gusi dengan ikon-ikon komedi kami. Hidup lebih indah apabila kita tertawa bersama.
看看，来过来，好，这招好，超人快。Go ahead,
Stream Laugh Out Loud. Bila-bila masa, apa jua cara. Hiburan terbaik hanya di sini. Semuanya di satu tempat.
Pack Sukan Astro membawakan kepada anda Liga Bola Sepak terbesar.
That is stunning. Oh, brilliant. What a goal.
Kehebatan di dalam gelanggang. Perlumbaan di Liga Pantas.
This is incredible.
Keunggulan UFC dan aksi slam dunk tanpa henti khas untuk anda. Sukan terhebat hanya di sini.
As the global economic landscape shifts, businesses are increasingly looking to diversify their supply chains and reduce their dependency on any single country. And this trend has been accelerated by the ongoing strategic rivalry between the US and also China, and prompting companies to seek new opportunities and partnership. And one such opportunity lies in the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone, or SEZ, groundbreaking initiatives aimed at fostering economic integration and also innovation between Malaysia and Singapore. And this SEZ promises to be catalyst for growth, attracting investment and creating new opportunities for businesses and communities on both sides of the border. And to help us understand the potential impact and significance of this initiative, we are joined by Dr. Chua Hak Bin, the Regional Co-Head of Macro Research at Maybank Investment Banking Group. Dr. Chua, thank you so much for being with us today. And first of all, maybe how do you foresee the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone SEZ impacting, especially in the regional economy, maybe in the next 5 years?
Right. Well, I think it finally makes a lot of sense, right? You know, because on one side, Singapore is grappling with constraints on labor, you know, on energy, on land, and of course, you know, Johor has ample of that, you know, affordable land, and then especially on the energy side, and plenty of water. So it makes a lot of sense to integrate the economies more closely. And I think especially now pushed by what's happening between the US and China, MNCs are looking for a new location, China plus one. And I think Malaysia fits in quite nicely, you know, especially if the strengths of both sides, you know, strengthens the case for that relocation. So we're already seeing an investment boom. We're seeing, you know, private and total investment in Malaysia growing at double digits, you know, in the second quarter. And it looks like it's going to probably stay that way in the second half. Johor is probably going to grow closer, I think, now to 5 to 6% growth, given the heavy investments that's coming in. And we've seen, you know, a big pickup in property activities, especially for industrial land. We've seen a data center boom So I think all that is coming in quite nicely, and I think it's good that Exec comes at a time to seize this opportunity when MNCs are looking for, to diversify away from China.
Yeah. As mentioned by Menteri Besar Johor, three main components that supporting what's being done right now is Johor stability, unbeatable connectivity, and also a strong policy support and alignment. How do you see this initiative, especially helping industries? What kind of industries that you look forward, that you think will benefit, especially in this SEZ? Yeah.
So clearly the manufacturing, the industrial property space will be one big winner, because it's clear that the constraints in Singapore is there, and it's become too expensive, and there are companies as well that are looking to relocate and set up an alternate plant. So in that sense, that will be clearly one area where Johor can benefit, particularly in the electronic space or petrochemical space, but also clearly now the data centers, where there's ample water, renewable energy. That's one area. But I think even the services side, I think the tourism potential is tremendous, and there are also spillover benefits from the Singapore side. So if more 5-star hotels can be built here, we already see some limitations, more recreational facilities, that could also be quite a big draw. As it is, we have a lot of Singaporeans especially crossing the border to shop, and to spend their weekends in Johor. And then there are also opportunities, of course, in healthcare and education. So yeah, I think it spans a whole wide range of sectors.
I would like to bring our conversation to challenges. Of course, we can't run from it, of course. And maybe what kind of challenges? Like Prime Minister said, talent pipeline. Experts, especially on E&E, and Malaysia is short of like around 60,000 of experts in semiconductor. How do you foresee in terms of challenges in developing SEZ at the same time to fulfill the demand by the investors?
So I think talent and the labor supply shortage is something that comes out a lot in the discussions of investors. And it takes time, right, to grow your own local talent. So I think one missing piece for me in this puzzle is really there needs to probably be some relaxation of the foreign employment visas for those who want to work in a special economic zone. I think if that can be relaxed, and I think that will create a bigger pool of available talent that firms can draw upon, because if you want to invest, you must be able to have that pool. As it stands, I think when you look around Iskandar, I don't think we have that pool. It may be 200, 300,000 people. So I think that's something we hope that'll be announced, when the agreement signs. But I think you need that piece, whether it's allowing Singaporeans or foreign nationals to be based here, but can work in Singapore, or they can work in Malaysia. They can pay their tax rates accordingly. But I think that creates a whole, ecosystem that can support all those initiatives.
One more, I think, in terms of challenges that to the companies, especially that maybe that they might face when diversifying their supply chains, especially when they're away from China. How do you foresee this?
So that situation is still fluid, because depending on the outcome of the US presidential elections as well.
Of course.
I mean, if Trump does come into power, he's already said that he will put on a 60% tariff rate on China and possibly a 10 to 20% on the rest of the world, right? And that includes Malaysia. So then the question is, will that affect the kind of flow investments, FDI, and still, the new supply chains coming to Malaysia? So that's one issue. It's unclear, but because Trump has already said that he will also target third countries that may be conduits, to try to circumvent the tariffs that is placed on China. We've already seen the case for the solar panel sectors, where America has now imposed duties not just on China, but also now from Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia. And that, I won't be surprised if he does that for China EV cars that are produced here in Malaysia as well. And that's being expanded. They're also looking at what we call the foreign product rule in the US, and if your local, content consists of stuff that's made from Chinese technology, that may also be face restrictions in terms of exports to the US. Right? We also see some issues on the China side because China is actually seeing quite a big outflow of FDI from China. Right? Chinese companies are expanding abroad. Right? They are also trying to create alternative locations. But I think from the regulators may be also trying to clamp down on that and may be easier, maybe harder for them to take the money out, to invest in manufacturing space, particularly, for example, for electric vehicles. So I think almost about 25% of those FDI approvals in Malaysia is from China. And so that may be a setback if it's much harder for the Chinese companies to take their money to invest outside. So that's something to watch as well. So there are many things that's happening on that front, and it really depends, this game that the US and China is playing out.
It's very dynamic, Okay. Dr. Chua, I want to bring back our discussion to labour market. How do you think that ASEAN will influence the labour market in both Johor and also Singapore, complement each other?
So unfortunately, when you look at the labour market as it stands today, it's rather one-sided. It's about more Johor people commuting to Singapore, right? Exceeding 300,000 a day, right? And there's not many flow the other way, right? Most for Singaporeans who come here are really to shop or to have a holiday. So I think the SEZ should think about how it can make it more two ways, right? You also want a pool of people that's from there that may be interested in setting up businesses to live here, to retire here, and to work here, perhaps part-time, perhaps full-time. But I think the current visa immigration scheme doesn't allow for that kind of flexibility, right? So then also then you create more businesses who are willing to invest here simply because there's also a pool here. So it's that whole ecosystem. So my wish is that the SEZ will come out with some kind of structure and scheme that will encourage more two-way flows of labour, and it's just not being so lopsided at this point in time.
And of course it needs a strong policy. And how can policymakers ensure that this SEZ will influence and also promotes sustainable economic growth, especially in this region?
So now it's up to, Johor has already seen a growing demand, right, for data centers. They consume a lot of energy, they consume a lot of water. So it's come to the point where, I think Malaysia can be a bit selective about what kind of data centers comes in. Make sure that new investments are powered more by renewable energy, whether it's by solar and so on, because that will also be more green, and you want a nice environment anyway, for people to live in Johor. So, and the same with the building standards, same with other alternatives. The fact that these are all new, and there are already a lot of new technology for data centers, how can they be done in a more efficient way? I think Malaysia can set those high standards that meet those green goals.
Dr. Chia, one of the things that I think we need to highlight is in terms of what kind of measure that can be taken, especially to attract the FDI into the SEZ. And of course, Malaysia government has announced some special rates and also tax incentives.
That's right.
How do you see this will boost and to create confidence to the investors to come to this special economic zone?
So I think the tax breaks are very generous. That lower taxes for residents, but also zero tax for family offices. So I think that's just one pillar of the set of structure that firms will consider. One other part, I think, is probably in the domain more of the central bank. That maybe it's worth revisiting some of the rules that for foreigners that want to open bank accounts, that want to operate here, to conduct transactions, to change currencies and all that, and to invest outside. Those rules may need to be revisited. So the big difference with big financial centers out there, London or Singapore or Dubai and all that, is that you have pretty much very limited, pretty relaxed, hardly any capital controls, right? You can take money in and out, you can open a bank account easily.
Yeah.
I think there are still quite a bit, and maybe old archaic restrictions on foreigners on the financial side. So maybe now with these incentives, it's time to revisit and see whether there's scope to remove some of the unnecessary hurdles that may impede I think the creation of a successful financial center. So it needs to be worked hand in hand. It's just not about taxes. It needs the whole structure and what kind of business can set up to support the whole financial center in the system.
And of course, one of the critical sector or that need to be done is about infrastructure developments, because this will boost the confidence among the investors. What are the key infrastructure developments that needed to support SEZ success?
Well, I think fortunately a lot of infrastructure and roads are already pretty set up, but there's always an improvement on that side. But clearly for data centers, you would need more subsea cables to connect with the rest of the world, and using the latest technology. You will need also more facilities here. I think currently there are actually a lack of 5-star hotels, for example, in this whole area, right, to support some of these firms to come in. And also, clearly, the energy grid needs to upgrade, right? Because you want more renewable energy. There'll be high demands. There'll be on energy. So there's still quite a bit to be done to build up the infrastructure. But that is what exactly that investors are looking at, and that is the one that can, if the demand is there, can generate quite a strong investment boom in Johor.
Lastly, your aspirations towards this SEZ, maybe in short term, maybe in 5 years or in 10 years time, your aspirations towards this initiative, because I think this is the first time for Malaysia and Singapore have a so-called cross-border initiative in terms of special economic zones, like some sort like Shenzhen, Hong Kong. If I may to compare, how do you, your aspirations after 5 or 10 years?
I'm actually from Johor Bahru, so this was my hometown. I grew up in primary school here, right? I mean, in my vision, in 5 years from now, a Singaporean or Malaysian can cross the border easily without a passport, using just facial recognition. That would be incredible. That you can actually come and work here and go back on the same day without fuss, within less than an hour. Will be great. If a Singaporean can also come here for their health services, for medical checkups, tap on the CPF accounts for that. That'll be great. They can attend a university in Johor, and then that degree is recognized and accepted in major companies, also in Malaysia, but also in Singapore. That'll be fantastic as well. So there's a lot of opportunities that some could actually choose to more live in Johor, have that bigger space, amenities. But given the short fabric, they can just go and work a few days of work, a week if necessary, back to Singapore. So it's almost as if Johor was a part of Singapore already. Another state that's linked up, and I think then I think the scope for booming Johor economy will be tremendous. Right?
This is the new era of collaboration, and of course, as your hopes, and I think others, Malaysians and also Singaporeans also look forward to this initiative, the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone. Thank you so much, Dr. Chua Hak Bin, Regional Co-Head of Macro Research at Maybank Investment Banking Group. I think that's all from now. See you in our next show. Great.
Welcome to the southern jewel of Malaysia, where vibrant culture meets economic dynamism. This is Johor, a thriving metropolis that prides itself on inclusivity and sustainability. And today, we embark on a journey through the heart of this thriving metropolis. Strategically located at the crossroads of Asia, Johor is a bustling hub of opportunity, home to a population of 4.1 million people. Notably, Johor holds the distinction of having the highest foreign direct investment, FDI, for Malaysia, amounting to 140 billion ringgit since its inception. Johor Bahru transcends the definition of a mere city. It serves as the economic gateway to Asia. Now, let's shift our focus to the economic heart of Johor, Iskandar, Malaysia. With a GDP of 83.2 billion ringgit in 2020, this dynamic city features 3 major seaports and 2 international airports, complete with an array of comprehensive logistics services, making it a key player on the global stage. Within Iskandar Puteri lies Medini, a vibrant development with expansive land banks across multiple zones. Let's take a closer look at the key zones shaping this city's landscape. Zone A, situated at the northern tip of Medini Iskandar, Malaysia, spans 570 acres and houses prominent attractions such as the Legoland theme park, Mall of Medini, Affinity, and the Urban Wellness Project. Referred to as Medini's Convention District, it caters specifically to corporate professionals. Covering 351 acres, Zone B is a planned business and media district featuring a commercial centre, SME business park, hotels and hospitality, residential, communal and leisure facilities. Support Zone B's concept as a dynamic net zero carbon central business district, CBD. As part of the 620-acre Medini Central Cluster, Zone C is recognized as the trade and logistics zone. Hosting essential operational aspects, it offers top-notch integrated services like warehousing, distribution, packaging, and business process outsourcing. Zone D, the creative zone of Medini Central, boasts advanced infrastructure to propel Medini Central into the forefront of evolving technology. It caters to international companies involved in creative research and development. Referred to as the Heritage Zone of Medini Central, Zone E, featuring exclusive high-end landed properties to fulfill various needs. Lastly, Zone F encompasses the Sunway Iskandar development, known as nature's capital city. This destination harmonizes contemporary with timelessness, sophistication with simplicity, and serves as a meeting point where the city seamlessly integrates with nature. Now, let's zoom into flagship Zone B, where this zone boasts community markets, sports fields, creativity and fun. Enjoy a 15-minute city commute with our internal bus rapid transit system, cycling lanes and pedestrian footpaths. It is accessible and safe with thoughtfully planned urban architecture that promotes a harmonious lifestyle. Iskandar Puteri is more than just a city. It's a global business services and digital innovation hub, equipped with business-ready network infrastructure like the Iskandar Puteri Core Data Center, which provides accessible data that fosters innovation for businesses. Navigating the realm of business has never been more seamless than with the strategic support of JDETT, the Johor Digital and Emerging Technology Talent. Through applied analytics, JDETT facilitates the process of building and scaling enterprises. Our commitment to technology and innovation is strengthened through engaging in tech and innovation dialogues with the Menteri Besar of Johor. These dialogues serve as a platform for meaningful discussions and collaborations, solidifying government support for the dynamic sectors of technology and innovation. Furthermore, entrepreneurs find a gateway to success in Match at Madidi, a startup pitching session that opens doors for aspiring visionaries, connecting entrepreneurs with the resources and support needed to turn their ideas into buzzing businesses. Introducing the Iskandar Drone and Robotics Zone, a visionary space comprising a 25-acre VLOS drone test site, talent development center, design and development and training center, assembly and aftermarket facilities, and business incubation, a testament to our commitment to innovation.
Asian Drone IoT Technologies was established in the year 2016, where we're focusing on the talent development in the drone industry for Malaysia. For the last 3 years, we have completed more than 30 training programs and seminars where we promote the drone technology, emphasize on the proper SOP, perform the drone operation, and also promoting the various applications in a lot of industries for Malaysia.
Next, let's explore EduCity, Asia's first multi-campus education city, comprising of renowned international schools and universities, offering a comprehensive educational ecosystem. EduCity is a canvas for students to explore possibilities and harness true potential where the next generation learn, live, and lead. This influx of intellectual capital contributes across a spectrum encompassing educational excellence, global recognition, and the development of future leaders. Immerse yourself in world-class sports venues, including the Sultan Ibrahim Football Stadium, EduCity Sports Aquatic Centre, and the EduCity Sports Complex. With a significant seating capacity, these sports venues serves as a hub for large-scale events, attracting sports fans, teams, and sponsors from around the region. The activation of these venues result in economic, social, and developmental benefits that contribute to the overall well-being of its residents. At Iskandar Investment Berhad, we take pride in our commitment to environmental, social, and governance initiatives, from a net zero carbon commitment to green-rated buildings, EV infrastructure, energy-efficient buildings, and the creation of sustainable and smart places. We're building a future with responsibility. Iskandar is not just a destination, it's a lifestyle where quality of life is paramount. Iskandar Investment Berhad invites you to be a part of our thriving community where growth meets innovation. Iskandar Investment Berhad, catalyst of change.
As Malaysia's push forward with its ambitious economic plans, one of the key focal points this year is the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone, or JSSEZ, and positioned to become a major hub for cross-border investments. The JSSEZ is set to drive growth in southern Malaysia, leveraging Johor's strategic location. And at the heart of this transformation is CIMB Bank, playing a critical role in financing and shaping the future of this vibrant economic zone. And today we are joined by Novena Amiruddin, Group CEO of CIMB, to dive into CIMB's contribution to the success of this JSSEZ. First of all, maybe you can share your thoughts on the investment outlook for Malaysia, particularly Johor, and also wider, more macro in ASEAN region. Yeah.
Well, the investment outlook is very positive. You know, Malaysia now is a stable market. The government, you know, has been very bold in terms of coming up with a lot of you know, recent moves, you know, which has put the country in a much more structurally strong position. You know, corporate earnings have been very strong. The economy is performing well. Liquidity is also, you know, a lot stronger in Malaysia compared, you know, to the year before. And you add that together with, you know, the Fed's cutting rates, which paving the way for other central banks to cut rates. You know, that should drive more demand, drive more liquidity to move into emerging markets. And hopefully a lot of that liquidity will then go into ASEAN and then go into Malaysia. So on that basis, it is very positive. With regards to Johor, I mean Johor is one of the key engines for Malaysia. Malaysia has a lot of engines. We have the semiconductor engine, we have the energy transformation roadmap, we have Sarawak, we have Johor. So Johor is one of those very important engines, which would drive the growth for Malaysia. For ASEAN, as I said, there's a lot of liquidity coming into the emerging markets, and we hope that ASEAN gets to capture a lot of that liquidity.
Yeah. Besides what happening in especially in Middle East, all the uncertainties on in geopolitics, and of course, as you said, ASEAN has a big potential, especially Malaysia and Johor focusedly. And maybe in your opinion, what are the potential business opportunities following the recently announced Forest City Special Financial Zone?
Well, that's quite exciting because that talks about setting up of family offices within the financial zone. Certainly, as a start, it would be about wealth. So wealth would be one of the key drivers as more families set up family offices within the financial zone. But as a result of that wealth, then you would see a lot more investments into the capital markets. You would see a lot more investments into real estate. You would see a lot more people, investment officers being hired. So I think there's a lot of trickle-on effect as a result of the family offices, setting up in financial zone. So yes, it does look quite exciting.
Looking ahead, maybe what are some of the strategies that CIMB is looking to leverage on JSSEZ, and also while contributing significantly to the regional economic integration?
So JSSEZ is quite special because it relies on the complements between Johor as well as Singapore. But whenever there is a cross-border element with regards to investments, it's never straightforward. And that's where CIMB has the advantage, because we are a large universal bank operating in most of the countries throughout ASEAN. Today, our clients that we bank are ASEAN clients who are based in multi-jurisdictions within ASEAN, and we know how to provide the financial solutions to them in order to navigate across businesses in all the various markets. So using that knowledge of helping our clients operate in multi-jurisdictions, we will apply that same knowledge for businesses to operate within JSSEZ, which is a complement with Singapore. So you're looking at a lot of companies that are probably operating in Singapore that would also then operate within JSSEZ, but rely on the financial solutions that we provide to navigate across these two markets.
And of course, IMB plays a role, especially to complementing the ecosystem, right? Okay, lastly, what is the banking outlook for the remainder of this year?
Well, I mean, banks are a proxy to the economy, and with the tailwinds behind Malaysia, with all the structural reforms, with the country being very stable, it does look quite positive for the country, and therefore banks as a proxy of the economy, in my view, would benefit from it. But we must always be cautious with regards to the risks that lies ahead. So we as banks need to be always aware of the risks that lies ahead and put in all the necessary mitigants to mitigate risks, because at the end of the day, while there's a lot of growth, we also need to be mindful of the risks that we face.
Thank you so much, Novan Amiruddin, Group CEO of CIMB, shared off his thought on, especially on JSSEZ and also Forest City Special Financial Zone. Thank you so much, and that's all from me from the Invest Malaysia 2024 in Iskandar, Puteri, Johor.